Right, here we go. We are live.
We are still alive.
We are still alive. I like that. Yeah, I like that. So, everyone, welcome to Happy Days Talks with Very Incredible People. This is one of a very, very old friend of mine who we lost touch through our journeying, let's say. And we've been in touch a few times over the years. And Chris is, I'm going to tell you a bit about Chris. And we've got in touch again through, the work we do, and we just happened to get in touch, which is brilliant. And Chris is one hell of a incredible human. So I'm going to tell you a bit about him. I'm going to read a synopsis from his second book called 40. Is that right?
40 nights.
41?
40 nights.
40 nights, that's right. So Chris, a Royal Marine Commando who ended up homeless, suffering in severe psychosis from crystal meth addiction while working at a nightclub in Hong Kong, which is where we met, working for the Triads. We both had some nights out with those. Doctors said you'd never recover and recommended you to a psychiatric hospital. Is that correct? I actually went into one. You suffered from PTSD, psychosis, chronic addiction, clinical depression. I've been there. So, and now you have become a qualified pilot, a skydiver, advanced scuba diver, Antarctic explorer, international best-selling author, motivational speaker, graduate of youth work, proud father, and you've backpacked through 80 countries on all 7 continents and run 999 miles non-stop to raise awareness. Non-stop?
Well, yeah, as in... I stopped to sleep, but I didn't take days off or anything.
So just get up and run another. How many miles you doing?
When I got to the end of the day, I put my tent up, climbed in the tent, and woke up and went for it again.
Wow.
With brain damage from all the medication I took, because I had 4 spine procedures.
Wow.
And I had a load of opiate medication, and it left my brain damage, so I had it made my body cramp. This syndrome that I had in my head made my leg cramp all the time, so I'd wake up in the tent, legs all cramped up, have to sort it out and then get on the road again. And my other leg, I fractured it, got a shin splint, so I ran 500 miles with a broken leg.
Wow, So you was in the Marines. I met you in Hong Kong all those years ago, where I got very ill. I got very ill as well, through pretty much the same thing as you. And so you've had 2 books. The first one was Eat Smoke, right?
Yeah, Brandon. Sorry, I'm just trying to shut my phone up. Paul, can you sort that out? Cheers. So we met. That was. I was very proud to meet you, Brandon. You were a lovely, lovely man, and I wanted to acknowledge that in my book. You say Eat and Smoke. It's real. Shall I just tell your listeners about?
Well, let me just finish off telling them about you, and then you can reminisce, and we can have a quick. So you've had Eating Smoke, which was a bestseller. I didn't. You said someone nicked it from me because they read the first 2 pages and thought I'm having this, so they did. I will get another one signed, and I can send you mine as well. Yes, there you go.
Book plug.
It's on Amazon, everyone. And also you've written one 40 Nights, which is more of the same, I'd imagine, except extending into your life from now. So, and now you're in the middle of a quadruple Ironman, is it?
Yeah, quadruple Ironman. I've literally taken my cycling shirt off, had a quick shower, and
because I don't know. Do you remember Pritchard from the?
Yeah.
Because Pritch did a quadruple Ironman at some point, didn't he? He did. It's just for me. It's just a story, and now you're obviously a speaker. You work with young people, and you're gonna donate some of your content to the Happy Hub, which is brilliant. So obviously, if people ever want to get in touch with you, they will be able to through our format and our platform. But so you can tell the story of Hong Kong if you wish to, and then and then we want to hear from you and how your crystal meth addiction. I was with the Triads one evening as well, and so we called it Triad to triathlons, And I know that it's a very deep story because obviously you've told me, and I read some of your book, the first bit, and how deeply entrenched you were in that whole system, let's say. And it's increasingly difficult to get out of those places. So you've done incredible work, and I'm sure everyone wants to stop listening to me rabbit and hear your incredible story. So let's have a little bit of Hong Kong before we go on. I've heard it. I know what it is.
Yeah, so I was I left the Marines to run a business there that was really successful. Well, as successful as a business can be when it promptly collapsed. So I cut a long story short, I ended up working on the doors, and I was running to work one day, and I saw a guy putting up flyers, and I just stopped and said, "Mate, how much do you get paid for doing that?" And he said, "Nothing. I'm a promoter. I'm flying these two DJs over from the UK to play in a hard rock cafe, right?" He said, do you like Brandon Block? Well, I'd been out of the country then about 7 months while you were having your kind of, your big rise to stardom, can we say. So I said, "Mate, don't take offence, but no, I haven't." He said, no offence taken. He said, "But if you come down to the Hard Rock Cafe Saturday night, I'll let you in. Get you on the VIP list," sort of thing. So, again, cutting a long story short, I went to work on the door that night. Used to work on the door, usually be off my face a bit, come off and go dancing for the rest of the night or the rest of the morning. Now, I had a mate called Ron, who's old Ron in my book, and he worked in an Italian restaurant in Wan Chai.
Oh, yeah.
And when he left the restaurant, he'd go out wearing the tie that he wore to work in the restaurant, right? So I thought, I don't know what got into me, but I thought I'd ditch my dicky bow and I'd put on a proper tie to go out with my mate, right? Stupid thing to do, but I was young. And anyway, that morning, all my mates had left. They've all left to go home. I was the last man drinking in this bar. And this girl turned around to me and went, I should say, in my club that night, the one I was working in, everyone kept saying, "Chris, you seen Brandon Block Saturday night? I'm like, yeah, I guess I am. It seems like I'm the only person not in on this incredible act. And so that morning, typical Hong Kong morning, everyone off their tits in this pub. And this girl turned around and she looked at me and said, "Ian, why are you wearing a tie?" And I didn't really know why I was wearing it. So I was like, "I've been out with my mate." She went, "Well, you look fucking ridiculous." Right? So there's me feeling all stupid and insecure. And so this geezer, right, turns around. He sat there. I think he was with a group at the bar, but he was sat on his own drinking. And he just turned around and he said, "Mate, anytime you want to wear a tie, you wear a fucking tie," like that, right? And I said, "Oh, nice one, geezer. I'm Chris." He said, "I'm Brandon, mate. Brandon Block." And that was how I met you. And it was such a nice thing to say. I mean, I was, as you'll gather from my book, Eat and Smoke, mate, I was a lost young man, probably like we all were a bit. And for you to just say such a nice thing, it was, touched my heart, and hence why it all went in the book.
Thank you very much, mate.
No, thank you.
So, all right, so Hong Kong, tell us a bit about how you ended up, well, we know how these things take hold of us and stuff like that, but tell us about the story with the Triads, and then obviously briefly, I know you was just, you got to a place where, so tell us that journey from, working the doors to the Triads to the, getting back to sort of some sort of, sanity, I suppose.
Yeah, well, God, I'll try and keep it short. So after my business collapsed, I was determined to stay in Hong Kong. I didn't want to come back to the UK. I burnt my bridges, obviously, by leaving the Marines. My 3-year business, I put 3 years hard work into. It's gone by the by. So I took a series of bizarre jobs, got fired from most of them, and at the same time, I was getting more and more addicted to crystal meth. And as I started to lose my mental health. I mean, I don't want to ruin my book for people, but I mean, I was, to use an expression, completely mad, you know, I was phasing in and out of chronic psychosis. So, I've been to China. Funnily enough, I got a good job as DJ in China. People laugh when I say I blagged it, and they say it's not possible, but I honestly did. I hadn't played a record since you used to have those little red vinyl boxes, and you had a little record player in there, and you could put a stack of 45s on. I'll play like the Jam and Street Dance and things like that, right? So I hadn't played a record since I was about 12. And my mate in the Big Apple, Hong Kong nightclub, I phoned him up and said, can I come over to the DJ booth? Because I need to write down the names of the dance tracks that I dance to every night, but I got no idea, you know, what they're called. And he said, sure. So anyway, I'm digressing, but I went in the DJ booth, I'm writing down the tracks, and the Filipino band stopped playing, and the singer came over and went, okay, over to you, right? And the DJ hadn't turned up, but he was late, right? So I just thought, all right, I've seen how they do this. I put the headphones on, on one ear, thinking, right, now I know you're phased from this, and I've got this record playing, and then I phased it into the second one, right? And everyone got up and danced, and they're all clapping, and cut long story short, yeah, that's how I got a job as DJ in the biggest nightclub in southern China. Completely blagged it, but
fantastic.
Again, I'm digressing. I came back from China, and that was it. I'd bounced on the door of 3 of Hong Kong's main expat clubs, and they all sort of told me to pack my bags. I was literally wandering the streets, homeless. I had a Rolex that I treated myself to in the Marines after the Northern Ireland conflict, and I had to hock that to get myself some accommodation and some more crystal meth. And I wandered in a club to see a guy I knew, to ask him, are there any jobs going in Clubland? You know, can you recommend one last place that I can try? And when I went in the club, there was this kind of not seedy looking, but mysterious looking Chinese guy in a black suit and black sort of pinstripe tie, or black thin tie. And he said, you look for Glenn? And I said, yeah, I'm looking for Glenn. He said, Glenn gone Thailand. You want a job? I was like, bloody hell, Christmas come early. I said, yeah, I want a job. He said, you can do doorman job? I said, yeah, I'll do doorman job. He said, right, okay, start here tomorrow night, 8 o'clock. So that was it. I turned up there just thinking it's just another, working on the door in another club. And on my first night, there was an expat sat drinking at the bar. Mm-hmm. And he turned to me and went, you're Chris. So immediately I was a bit surprised he knew my name. I said, yeah, that's right. And he introduced himself. He said, you know they're all triads? I was like, really? My kind of ears pricked up, because coming from a military background, you know, I'd already sort of come from one sort of gang, if you know what I mean. And I had a fascination with these triads. Just after I arrived in Hong Kong, a mate of mine was sat on the door of his nightclub, sat on the steps outside the nightclub he bounced on, and a transit van pulled up. 12 triads jumped out the back, and they chopped him up really badly. His face was all like sort of crisscross with these massive scars, and he chopped his thumb off. It was like hanging down by his wrist, you know. That turned out to be a case of mistaken identity. And this geezer was back working on the door like three days later, all kind of bandaged up, right? So I had a bit of a fascination with these guys. The gym I used to work in, you could see them. They're all got these big, sprawling dragon tattoos, you know. And so yeah, that was my first night in the club. This English guy said, your man there, Daisu, is a 6'7" Chinese guy, which is really rare for a Chinese person to be so tall. He said he's an assassin. He's what they call violent hand in Triad speak. Every now and again, he gets smuggled over the border into China to do a hit on someone, and then they'll smuggle him back. And I was kind of like, how can he do that? You know, is this all like beyond me? You know? And this guy's like, oh no, he won't question it. If he's told to do something, if he's told by the Triad, he needs to do a job. He has to do it, no question, right? He said, your man there, Chichu, he was the second doorman I worked with. He was what they call Magi, which means little horse. So like a street level Triad, basically a runner. And this guy said, don't be fooled. He might look harmless, but he'll pick up anything in a fight if you think he can smash an enemy over the head with it, right? Yeah. So these are my two fellow doormen. One's a Chinese hard as nails street fighter. The other's an assassin, you know, a paid hand, I suppose you'd say. And the guy said, Peter there, and he points to the guy that had given me the job. He said he's Dilo. Dilo means big brother in Cantonese. He's a gang leader. He said he might not look much, but he's like a really important man in Wan Chai. You know, don't mess with him. So that was it, Brandon. You know, it's what can you say? It probably sounds quite amazing, but you've got to remember pretty much all the clubs worldwide are run by mafia, right? It's just like a bit like Soho, right? It's just the way of the world. And in Hong Kong, the mafia is the Triads, and so technically I was employed by the 14K, who were the gang that ran Wan Chai district. So I was never a Triad myself. I've never claimed to be. I was just a doorman, kind of in amongst this madness.
So what was the moment that led you to, you know, obviously I'm sure everyone sort of pretty much knows that, you know, what goes on in nightclubs, especially when, you know, that sort of stuff's involved. So for you, what was the moment or deciding moment when you realised I'm absolutely gone, I need to get help and there's no way back? So when you went to go to the doctor or whatever, obviously you were taking lots of crystal meth. Yeah. We know how bad that is for you, especially for your mind.
I had what I call several kind of nervous breakdowns. And my take on it, Brandon, I'm very different from most people. I don't go with the flow just because everyone talks this way that I'll just copy what they say, right? So you're never going to get me like feeling sorry for myself, you know. You're never going to get me to badmouth drugs or look at addiction in my case as a negative thing, right? It really was a massive learning curve for me. It was almost like Mother Nature saw me on the wrong path and went, "Oi, son, you know, you got some wrong ideas there." You know, I was materialistic. I was never really a nasty person, but you know, I'd done stupid things in my life. I fell foul of the law at one point in my life, and I thought robbing was that was where my happiness lay, you know. And addiction's a real kind of good rectifier, you know. It was like Mother Nature went, have some of that, and through that process, it took me to where I am today, which is quite an enlightened individual, really, and a real happy one, and someone who can take on these big challenges like the running the length for the UK, or at the minute this quadruple Ironman. Not, you know, I don't have the kind of all that fear that other people have to deal with, and worrying about what people think, and not knowing how to go about things, and worrying about failure. Like, I don't have to deal with that, because when you're enlightened, you see life in a very different way. And I'm guessing that you know where I'm coming from, right?
I think. Well, no, I mean, I totally get what you're saying about the enlightenment thing and addiction. I mean, look, all humans are addicts. It's just how they act out. To be honest, I mean, you may replace behaviours with better behaviours, but I mean, when you like doing something, but what you've done is, from what you're telling me, is you took yourself out of the run of the mill life. And when you do distance yourself from run of the mill life, you're not in touch with what goes on, which is the rat race. So you are in a position to, especially on your journey now, by the sounds of things, obviously, that you can let go of pretty much everything and focus on what's in front of you. And I think that's the most important thing for everyone to realise, that is what's happening for you right there and then. And the fact that you can take yourself out. I want to hear more about what you said in the synopsis on the book. So when you looked at addiction, you thought, I've got all these problems, and you then turned down psychological help from the clinic or whatever, that you realised that there was something innate inside you which was giving you the ability to change all that and say, right, I'm no longer doing this because it's no longer serving me.
Yeah. My crunch moment. I mean, I'll give you two scenarios. In Hong Kong, I ended up trying to crawl across a wire. There was a wire that went from my skyscraper to the one on the other side of Jaffe Road, and it had a water pipe attached to this plastic cup to this wire, so it was obviously supplying water to the other rooftop, right? I don't know if it's because lots of homeless people live on the rooftops in Hong Kong, right? But I got that ill, Brandon, that in my mind, all my commando training, in particular, they teach you how to lie on a rope and crawl across it. In my mind, all that commando training was for this moment when I had to crawl across this wire. And so I'm crawling on this wire, and I'm looking down, and I'm 70 meters above the ground. The cars and the people look like ants, and it was just a fucking stupid thing to do, right? But I was that mentally unwell that I thought, I've got to get across this wire and everything will become clear to me then, So that was kind of like one breakdown I had in Hong Kong. I suddenly realised what I was doing, or moreover, I'm like, Chris, are you trying to prove?
Can I just sorry? I just want to ask you something. So, when you was crawling across the wire, and you said a breakdown, when you got to the other side, was it a breakthrough? Was it something that you'd thought, right, I've done it now?
It was part of. See, the thing is, when you turn your life around, and I know you've obviously been there. It's like a. First of all, I think you have one big epiphany where stuff has got to change, right? You just know stuff. But you also have a lot of build-ups to it, a lot of warning signs, the flags go up. I had about what I would call a nervous breakdown. I mean, literally crying my freaking eyes out, wondering what happened? What happened? And that particular incident ended up with one of them, because I'm out on that wire. It suddenly occurred to me, hang on, this thing could snap at any minute. And then what are they going to say? They're going to say, what are they going to tell my little brother? My little brother, best mate, obviously. They're going to say, your brother's a drug addict in Hong Kong and he threw himself off a skyscraper, right? And Brandon, it wasn't true. It couldn't be further from the truth. I still was proud of myself. I still loved myself. I hadn't lost any kind of respect for myself. I was just trying to work things out, right? And obviously I'd done it through drugs, which was kind of quite a harsh proving ground. But then I stopped and I thought, but why am I doing this? Who am I proving myself to by crawling across this wire? And I thought, is it these freaking knobheads down in Wanchai, you know, in the clubland, and people started to take the mickey out of me. They didn't know I was unwell, you know, and people would make snide comments about the crystal meth, like people do, or they certainly did back then. And in that moment, it suddenly like was right in my face. Why the hell am I worried about them? When I should be worried about my little brother who's going to have a dead brother if I'm not careful, right? And who do I care about in the whole wide world? Oh, I sound like I'm talking to my son, the whole wide world. but you know, when my parents split up, God knows how many times before they divorced, we got hoiked up to a school 300 miles away in Lincolnshire, right? Put in a strange school. It was I went to, I think, 5 schools before I was 10 years old, right? And all the turmoil and stuff I won't even talk about that was going on for me as a kid. And in that school, they had a rule: the little kids couldn't go in the big kids' playground, right? So I was a big kid, my brother was a little kid, and like I loved him so much, Brandon, and he was like my only stability through all that upheaval. So we used to sit. There was steps between the playgrounds. He'd sit on one step, I'd sit on the next step down, and just being with my brother made it all, you know, it made it all right. We didn't make it all right, but it just gave me that. I just didn't feel so like homesick or whatever the feeling was. And there I am in Hong Kong, and I think, why am I caring about? You know, that's a big thing in life, but particularly when you've got drug problems, is you end up worrying about what everybody else, except the people that do actually care about you, you know? And it's not when you so much take them for granted. And again, this is part of the learning process through addiction, is, you know, you learn what is important in your life. You know, what is important is your family and probably like 5 friends. You know, that when you cut through the bullshit, all the people that are quite shallow and don't even really know themselves, you've got about 5 people that will have your back, and they're worth, you know, they're worth worrying about, right? And so,
absolutely.
So I'm on that wire, and I'm just suddenly had that epiphany. That's like what one of my series of epiphanies was. Hang on, I don't freaking have to prove myself to no one. I'm a former Royal Marines Commando. What am I, you know, what am I doing? So that was that. But fast forward, I came back to the UK and I spent pretty much 18 months living on a sofa bed, right? I didn't know because, like, if we're rubbish at mental health in this country now, we certainly were rubbish at it back in the 90s, you know?
Oh, yeah. Totally.
Not one professional or family member or friend could say, Chris, you're depressed. Do you understand you're depressed? No one could tell me that. So I've got this weird, like, empty feeling in me, Brandon. You know, I've come back from Hong Kong. I've put that big high of not just literally being high, but also working for the Hong Kong Triads and being in clubland 24/7, and all that's gone. Now I'm back in boring England. I haven't got qualifications to get a job. You know, I was in the military. I didn't train for anything in there. I didn't feel I was capable of getting any job, right? So I sort of crashed on my sofa bed all day, and the only time I could get myself off it was if I could score some bass, right? So some speed, strong. You know, well, it's England's strongest speed. Well, you can't get crystal meth here, right? Well, you certainly can't in Plymouth. So I'd buy bass, and I started to live for that fortnight when I'd spend all my income support, which was like 55 quid a week. I'd spend nearly all of it on bass. I have a manic sort of 4 days. I'd have all these big plans. I'm going to write a CV. I'm going to iron my shirt. I'm going to get my suit out. I'm going to get a job. I'm going to do, you get in that Groundhog Day, you know, where it never happened. I'd end up trashing my house. I'd end up taking something apart that didn't even need fixing, and I went through a horrible phase where my skin really itched, which looking back was probably the amphetamine coming out of it, because I was injecting it, you know, I was sort of injecting it 5 or 6 times a day or whatever. Yeah, so no one, oh yeah, and I'd leave myself, like my weekly shop, I'd have £1.78. So I lived on bread and Marmite. The Marmite I shoplifted because there's no way I could afford like £3 for a jar of Marmite, right, or Bovril. I'd buy like the value range milk. I'd buy a big bag of value range pasta and porridge oats, and I'd mix the pasta and the porridge and just put milk and loads and loads of sugar, just white sugar, about 20 spoons of sugar. And I lived on that for, you know, like I say, 18 months. Yeah, sorry, you're gonna say something. So
I was gonna just say, I mean, I get where you're coming from. I mean, I think those cycles are very difficult to break, but I want to know what changed for you. What was it that got you out of that rut, and where did you get? How did you get to the, you know, the place you're now? I mean, the incredible things you're doing now. I mean, the stories in, you know, even, you know, although mine, you know, I have my moments. It's incredible to hear yours, and you know, desperation and all the stuff that's involved in that, and I get it. And from that to now,
yeah.
How does that happen? I mean, that's an incredible, you know, from doing.
I didn't take the route that a lot of people do, which is do the AA and the NA thing.
Right.
I'm not knocking it. I kind of knock it a bit because I'm also a substance misuse specialist. I did that job for 3 years. I worked in a kind of addiction agency, right? So
I did as well for 5 years.
You know, you've done it, yeah? Yeah. So, and I was really, I mean, I sit down with a client as a drug worker, and I would see where they're at in the cycle of change. I could just ping them, and you know.
I love the cycle of change.
Yeah, well, it
works. It works.
Yeah, little gems, mate. Little gems like that I sit someone down with, and I talk them through it. Immediately, you can congratulate them on coming to see you, which means they're, and you can equate that with them to saying, well, you're no longer in the denial phase, because you're no longer in the denial phase because you've come to see me. This means you're taking action. Well done, you know. And then I would lay out the reasons why they're going to continue changing, and I'd get a bit of paper, I'd split it down the middle, and I'd write the cons of taking drugs this side, all the shit you're going to lose, all the ways you're making your life hard, all the loss of friends, and then over here we're going to write the nice stuff. What do you want from your life? Weekend in a caravan with a missus, you know, twice a year, brilliant. Tickets to the football, do some part-time work, what you know, and I'm obviously pitching it depending on the person that I've got in front of me, right? And at the end of that, like a client would say to me, they'd have this vacant look in their eye, and I'd say, are you all right? And they'd be like, Chris, how come, like, my other worker, and they'd had this other worker for 3 years, right? It's like, you've just summed up, like, my life in half an hour, and I know exactly, like, where I am. My other worker didn't tell me any of this. And I was like, well, you know, I can, obviously, for professional courtesy, I can tell him, well, that's because your other worker hasn't been where I've been, you know? So, to get to the answer of your original question, my change moment came when I woke up one morning, I was in my boxer shorts. I used to shiver really bad because I'd lost all my body weight, all my fat was gone. I get really almost like on a stage of hypothermia, and it was that in itself was horrible, right? Woke up, I was lying underneath my TV set with a screwdriver in my hand, wearing my boxer shorts. Don't know how long I'd been asleep there, and I woke up, I realised I'd crashed again on amphetamine, so I'd been taking it for so many days. I mean, the crystal meth I took for 9 days one time without sleep. The base used to, I could do so much of it, I wouldn't sleep for like 4 or 5 days. And when I tracked back what I was doing, I realised I'd been up for 5 days, I told myself go to sleep, I never did like downers, so I never looked like temazepam or anything, or I didn't even really drink then. All my money went on speed. So it wasn't like I could pop a couple of pills and go to sleep. I used to have to wait until like I was about to crash. And so I was obviously feeling like I was about to crash, realised I had one more job to do, which was to put a plug on the TV or something stupid. Because as I was saying, my drug time was my up time, right? So when I had the drug, I tried to get everything done that I could, because I knew when I crashed, then it was just like a week and a half of depression until I got my money again. So I'd woken up, got a screwdriver in my hand, I'm thinking, God, how did I end up in this undignified state? Right, yeah, I was fixing the telly. And then I thought, right, I'm starving hungry. I mean, I haven't eaten for 5 days, right? I'm starving hungry. I'll nip to the shop and I'll get like a pasty or something. And I could hear the kids playing outside my house.
Yeah.
Kids in the street. They'd always like kick the ball around outside my house because they knew I was the only person in the street that wouldn't tell them to sling their hook, right?
Yeah.
And they, it might sound funny, but they love me, them kids, Brandon. Because I always took the time to speak to them and kick the ball around with them and play stupid games in the street. And they'd come and say, Chris, will you come trick-or-treating with us and all this kind of stuff. And because obviously I didn't want to be to them the way adults were to me, right? So that was really important to me. And I could hear them this morning, or this afternoon, whatever it was, playing outside, and I couldn't go out the house, mate, because I was too fucked up, I was too ashamed of myself. I was just haggard and drawn, and I couldn't go out the house. I was just I couldn't go out of the house, and in that moment, bang, I just had another breakdown, And in that kind of, the wrapper of that breakdown, I'm saying to myself, Chris, what have you done? What have you done? You used to be a fit, handsome young Marine who I'm talking like materialistic bullshit now, but back then it was like I had a BMW and I had a mobile phone with no people. You say, what's that? Oh, it's a mobile phone, And I used to wake up after a night out in the club and I'd have all these girls' phone numbers in my pocket, and the place I'd got to in my life, Brandon, I was so far away from that, I was haggard. The clothes I had on, I'd stolen off a problematic heroin user, My house was just trashed. I had this £1.67 worth of food in the cupboards. I've been living on porridge and pasta. And in that moment, like I say, I had to break down. I thought of myself as that little kid again. That little kid who had this is what I'm saying to myself, is Chris, when you was a toddler, 5, 6, 7, you didn't deserve to be treated the way that adults treated you. But now, mate, you're the adult, and it's up to you to look after that little boy, and you better start doing it, because that little boy's a man now, and if you don't start looking after him, Well, no one else is going to do it, right? So in that moment, after I finished crying and just wailing, it's just outpouring, really. I made a promise to myself that I would change, and I didn't want to be an angel. I wasn't going to go to support groups or a church, and I certainly wasn't going to throw my hands up and say that drugs were bad and that I'd made a mistake. Because as far as I'm concerned, I hadn't made a mistake, unless life experience is a mistake, But I thought, Chris, instead of spending all your money on gear, you're just going to spend a tenner next time. You're going to have that. They call it acting out, don't they? When you go and you pay your money to the dealer, get the gear, you get that exciting feeling. You tuck it away in your pocket or down your sock. You get home. You pick up some needles on the way home, and you prepare a spoon, and it's all this. They call it acting out because that in itself starts sending like endorphins and stuff around your body, right? So I thought, have your tenner's worth, Chris. Get all that acting out thing out of the way, and then don't buy any more. And when you crash, which in this case is going to be after 1 day or 2 days, because it's only 10 quid's worth of base, then you're going to wake up, mate. You're going to make a cup of tea. You're going to throw open them curtains. You're going to smile at the sun, and you're going to say, "Thank you for this life," because a lot of my mates had died, Brandon. A lot of Marines died very young. A lot of them in tragic circumstances. And here was I was still alive. I'd been through what I'd been through. I was still smiling. And I was just going to thank Mother Nature every day that I was still here, that I had this opportunity called life. Might be a bit crazy. There might not be, answers to it. But I was just going to be fortunate that I had this opportunity, right? Brilliant. I was going to stop looking for the answers in other people. So I was going to stop asking my parents, why did this happen? Why did it? Because they came from that generation. They can handle that, Yeah. They thought I was criticising them, and I wasn't, Brandon. I was just desperate, trying to get answers for my own life, right? So I'd say, like, to my mum, what was your dad like? And I'm trying to put the jigsaw together, and my mum would be like, oh, why are you asking that? Just shut up asking these questions. It wasn't. It was just like I was desperate to make sense of, like, who the fuck was I, So, go on.
Oh, go on. Sorry, I was just going to say.
So that was it, mate. Yeah, in that moment, the next time I took drugs, I spent a tenner, like I said. When it was gone, I got to force myself to get up instead of lying on that sofa bed for days on end. Put the kettle on, made a cup of tea, threw open the curtains, said, "Good morning, son." And something changed inside me, like a chemical reaction. And I knew in that moment, I was still going to party, I was still going to take drugs. That wasn't my issue or my concern. My concern was something had changed, and I knew there was no going back,
Great.
And, something changed. And I think maybe and now in my work, I'm always telling people, take action,
Yeah.
If you're depressed, if you're this, and no matter how hard it is, it's so important to take action. And that's what I was doing. By making a cup of tea, by doing the washing up, that I used to just say, sod that, I can't be asked to do it, leave it for a week, or doing that washing up, forcing myself to do it, and smiling, it just creates kind of inertia in your life, and so, yeah. So, does that answer your question?
In a roundabout way, yeah. So now, okay, so I get that whole scenario. I mean, a lot of, your story's unique, obviously. But the good thing about it is that it is, you are happy every day now. You said earlier, you're happy. You're obviously achieving great things with the fact that you're now fit enough. And I think from coming through that illness, and the physical side of it, and also the mental side of it, to be able to transfer that into focus, to be able to do quadruple Ironman.
Yeah.
You know, all the other things you've achieved, like the piloting, the scuba diving teacher, the traveling around the continents and helping people. I think that's an incredible thing to be able to do. So, you know, it's a matter about what. So, for instance, okay, so we say on a happy day on a daily basis, what did you do to make yourself happy daily? And by changing what behaviours, what thinking, and what was it that spurred you on to do these incredible things right now, to bring you where you are to this day?
Well, good question. First of all, I had an overwhelming feeling inside me. I don't know what the correct grammar or English for that is, but I had to give something back, Brandon, you know?
Yeah.
And it's really funny. I could already see in my mind how I was developing away from people that I knew.
Yeah.
And I'll tell you why. Because I decided I was going to go and work in Africa with street children, right?
Yeah.
I ended up working in Mozambique.
Wow.
Probably one of the richest experiences you can have, right? I saw some beautiful stuff over there, and I saw some stuff that was just, God, we don't know how lucky we are in this country, you know?
Yeah, yeah.
And yet, when I went to, like, my dad, he was like, what was it my dad said? He was like, what? Why are you going to Africa? Why don't you just, like, go out and get a job? Right? That was, you know. And so I went to my best mate phoned me up, or best mate in the Marines. We joined the Marines together, and he was now a captain, right? So he'd risen through the ranks. And he's like, so I said, yeah, Dad, I'm going to go and work in Africa. He's like, what? I said, well, I'm going to do volunteer work. You know, I'm going to go to a school in Norway or a university in Norway. They're going to train me for 6 months, and I'm going to go and work in Moses. He was like, nah, mate, nah. I'll hook you up with an NGO, yeah? My friends I've got friends that work for, like, the Red Cross, you know, or this kind of stuff. He said, I'll get you on 30 grand a year. And I was like, no, you don't get it, mate. That don't work. That's not what I want, you know? How can I profess to be helping people when I'm on 30 grand a year? That's kind of part of the problem in my thing and in my eyes. And that's it. You know, this is the path to enlightenment. It's where other people, and I'm not criticizing other people, and I'm certainly not, like, judging them, but it's where you leave, you know, your thinking diverts, and you go on this path, you know.
Yeah.
My friends thought I was mad working for free. They couldn't understand. They didn't know why it was important, but it was important to me because I developed empathy.
Of course.
Or I'd uncovered it in me. I didn't really understand it before. Like I say, I was never like a real bad bloke. And always, like, when children in need come around, I'd get my bank card out and give a tenner or whatever. But I didn't. I just knew that I wanted to give something when I was younger. After my addiction, it was just I understood why it's important to give. You know, why it's important to understand your fellow human beings and understand we're all equal and this kind of thing. So that was the first thing I did. When I went to that school in Norway, I was like, bang, back on form to myself. You know, there was no, my kind of PTSD from what happened through Hong Kong and like one night the Triad set me up for what I thought I was going to be murdered. And then there was the incident I told you about on the roof, and then it was probably one of the most damaging things was sort of people laughing at me and losing my friends over there and stuff, right? or friends, you know, just sort of rejecting you. That was more damaging than the Triad setting me up to be murdered, right, or crawling across a bloody cable. That stuff didn't really start to affect me for a few years later, if I was honest. You know, I went off to Norway. I was in a school in a mountain hut on 18 kilometers up a mountain in Lillehammer, where they had the Olympics. You know, so the school was in this old ski lodge. There was 70 volunteers there from around the world, all people that had got to a point in their life and decided, I want to give something back. You know,
yeah, absolutely.
And lovely people. And I just went in there, Brandon, I hit the ground running like I was still in the Marines, you know. I took people for sport, I'd get them doing real kind of like military stuff in the lake, you know, set up an endurance course in the lake, and they loved it, you know. And we had to sell postcards on the street all around Scandinavia, so all around like Oslo and Stockholm and Helsinki and this sort of stuff. Mm-hmm. And people found it really hard. And the school had a record. Some guy once had sold, let's say, £300 worth of postcards in one day, right? And I finished selling all mine so quick, just because I've got that way about me. I see the way and I find the way.
Yeah.
That I then dedicate my time to helping all the people that were struggling, right? So I helped them make their money, and I taught them how to do it and this kind of thing. And on the last day, we all went out together, and it was our last day of, it's called postcard selling. And I said, right, I'm going to beat this record, right? So the record was like 300 quid in a day, and I got like 970 quid that day. Do you know what I mean? It's some things I'm just good at, other things I'm terrible at.
Well, yeah, I think so. I didn't mean to interrupt. I was just so came to mind. I think it's about you know, you're finding your passion, and you know, obviously, through those years of you know, doing what you've done, you're successfully doing what you want to do, and your passion is giving back. You're raising awareness, you're raising funds, you're raising barriers, and you know, raising the bar in as far as fitness and you know, and helping people's concerns.
Yeah, it's kind of weird. I don't know how much I can say about how I see the world now, because it's just when I do podcasts with people generally, and you know, we may be doing like a wellness podcast or a well-being, and I try to, and I always say, like, I'm just going to be honest. I'll tell my truth. You might not like it, you might not agree with it, and that's fine. But like, if I don't speak my truth, I'm denying someone else that piece of the jigsaw that might help them make sense of their life, right? Or what they're sort of working on. And the one thing I say is, you know, the sooner you realise everything you've been told in this life is a lie, you know, everything. The banking system, warfare, what makes you a good person, what the career, you know, the 9 to 5 for your whole, look, you know, everything. It's like the truth, but it's got a wrapper on it that diverts it, and it all suits the ruling elite, right? You know, that's it. It's that simple. And until you can see that for what it is, you're not going to be. I don't want to sound like bloody Buddha or something, but you know, I take this enlightenment thing really, not see it seriously isn't the right word, but it's become a bit of a mainstay of my thinking, Brandon.
You embrace it. You embrace it.
Yeah, I embrace it, and like, it allows me, when I did my John O'Groats run, you know, I ran 1,000 miles, as you say, non-stop. I got up that John O'Groats. I hadn't been running for 2.5 years. I hadn't done any fitness because I was basically disabled with a spinal injury, right? Furthest I'd walk was to my car when I could walk. I couldn't walk for a year.
Yeah.
When I could walk, I walked to my car, which was just outside the house. And so I hadn't done any training, is what I'm trying to say. But I had this dream, I had this goal. As you can see from my bio, I'm a guy that, like, I like to set goals and I like to achieve them. I always say you get one life, and if you live it right, one is enough, right? Exactly. You don't want to get to the end of it and think, fuck, I fucked that up, right? And so, and I've met people that have, you know, or I've met people that feel they have, you know. I've had grown men that I've met, like, camping in Australia, just crying in front of me on a campsite over a beer because they, you know, I've just told them a few things I've done over the years, and they've been like, oh my God, I've just been in a job. That's all I've done. I've just, you know, I thought I was living a dream that if I worked hard, I'd get promoted, and that would make me a good person, and I'd get a second car, and so I lost my train of thought. So
we're going back to why you did all the stuff you did about the empathy and achieving the goals. And so I want to ask you something on Happy Days here, because it's about being happier on a daily basis, right?
Yeah.
So what's your routine to get you up? And because we're going to tell people how to get hold of you and watch your incredible journey. What's your routine to get you up and get you happy in the morning and go, right, I'm ready for the day? What do you do?
Right. I do a lot of things in my day, and it's all been an evolution, Brandon. You know, it's all just stuff that I found that works, right?
So an easy route to your day start. What would you say?
Yeah. So I try to get up early.
Yep.
But I don't get up too early now because there's a lot of research coming out saying that people that get limited sleep, it's related to Alzheimer's, right?
Yep.
So I try to avoid that. You know, I got 4 hours sleep a night and I work, you know, I'm up at 4 o'clock. So I'll get up, try to get up around 5, half 5, so I can get to the gym for 6. The thing I most enjoy at the gym is having a sauna in the morning. This routine came around because of my spine injuries.
Yeah.
That if I don't do physio every morning, I just start to suffer, and that just gets worse and worse, right? I might not look like it now, but I keep moving in the chair because I've got a busted SI joint, which is your pelvis. I've got a slip disc on that side of my back, and my surgeon wants to operate, put 3 titanium bolts through my pelvis. But obviously, because of my adventuring, I don't want to kind of limit myself. So I get to the gym in the morning to do the physio, just to get by through a day with less pain, let's say. Come back, spend a bit of time with my boy before he goes to school. I've got a 4-year-old, very, very blessed, you know, to have him. I mean, you've got a daughter, right? So no, you know what it's like. And then I put the computer on and I try to write. I try to write something in the morning, you know.
Yeah.
Because the mainstay of my life has been being an author.
Yeah.
And obviously now I'm starting to branch away from that because people are asking me to speak. I've been doing a lot of YouTube videos, just talking about my experiences. I'm getting quite good feedback on there.
Yeah.
But in a nutshell, for people listening, the biggest thing, physical thing that I've done that changed my life is the alkaline living. Without a question of doubt, once someone explained to me human physiology and how it works, and that you wouldn't like feed a plant with petrol.
No.
So what do we just put all kind of crap in our body and then think that we can function normally? When you start to see this and understand it, and again it ties in a bit with the enlightenment, you start to realise it's just basic common sense, you know. We evolved for hundreds of thousands I don't know the exact history, but hundreds of thousands of years we evolved to eat a certain hunter-gatherer diet.
Yeah.
In a very short time, McDonald's came along and said, "Nah, sod that, just eat these burgers." And people actually think that you can survive on that, and there's going to be no kind of, repercussions sort of thing. So I don't want to waffle, but yeah, alkaline diet. Once you understand that, instead of having your meat and your meat, your potatoes, and a little bit of veg on the side, you spin that around. You have 2/3 veg and 1/3 meat and potatoes. And if you keep that balance, it's called the alkaline balance, you will never get sick.
Brilliant.
You physically cannot get sick. And that's, again, a lie we've been told, that you catch a cold from someone, right? It's just nonsense.
Yep.
Don't catch a cold from another person. It's your body trying to purge acid from your system. And yet we're in the year 2019 and people still believe you catch a cold from someone in the office. This is the crimes that are done to us by these elitists that own these, or that think themselves elite, that own all these corporations. And so that's one. The alkaline diet is really important. Bit of exercise, 3 times a week. I'd say something to get the endorphins going to your brain. Endorphins, as we know, natural drug, no come down, makes you just want to do more and more stuff, gives you a positive attitude towards life. If I find myself getting stressed, I revert to like a mindful stage.
Yeah.
I know it probably sounds a bit cliche, but it's just because it works.
Yeah.
I stop and I kind of ask myself the question, whatever I'm worrying about, Brand, what the hell does it mean in the grand scheme of this bloody universe?
Exactly.
I've got a little short life. I'm not going to be in it very long. I think, what is the point worrying? I've had to do it massively with this quadruple triathlon, because when you've got a bit of a public profile, you're obviously putting yourself out there, right? And when I do these challenges, I tell everyone I will do this. There's no you're not going to get me like the England football team, which is, if we get a bit of luck, if the ball goes our way, we might get. That's just such a rubbish attitude, It's such a not saying losers, but I'm saying it's such a losing attitude. You don't set out on something to maybe fail. You set out with all your positive, mindset, and you talk the talk. So when I do this quadruple triathlon, I am going to do it. That is it. There's no other option, right?
Brilliant.
I begin with the end in mind, or as I call it in the book that I'm writing at the minute, finish before you start.
Yeah.
Right? So I'm imagining myself, even as we speak, I'm crossing the line of, I've got a 100-mile run to do on Saturday. It's an official ultra race, and I'm already crossing that line. I'm picturing myself crossing the line. I'm picturing the relief that I'm going to have, thinking, yes, it's my 50th birthday. That's why I'm doing this.
Well, happy birthday for Saturday, mate. Well done.
Yeah, thank you. I thought, well, how can I celebrate my birthday and I meet a lot of guys I was in the Marines with, Brandon, and I want to say they've let themselves go, but they wouldn't entertain what I'm doing in my life. They all think I'm amazing, and I'm not. I'm just a normal person, but I've just got a few things kind of maybe prioritise a bit better than other people. So yeah, the bit of mindfulness, because life is stressful.
Yeah, we know.
It is. I don't know. I'm a great believer that there's kind of an agenda in this life, and it really is to fuck people up in every way. A bit like when you read 1984. It's so much stress is put upon you just trying to work out how to bloody do something on your phone. it amazes me the amount of people that text me. I think, where do you get the time to do all this? Because I'm always like doing something, and I'd rather someone just picked up the phone and spoke to me, so I can just quickly go, yeah, bye, cheers.
That's it.
You know, and it's all stress. It's all. I'm not talking about time management here. I'm just saying that life is set up to kind of stress you. So for the mindfulness is an absolute. You have to. That's in your survival box, right?
Yeah.
So that's important. I take time for the friends that I know are my friends, Brandon, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
I'm not saying that the other ones aren't, but you haven't got time to love everybody on your Facebook thing, because you know you can't love thousands of people or hundreds or whatever your Facebook friends list is, but you can concentrate on the 5 people that. An easy way to look at it, who are the people that phone you, innit? You know?
Yeah.
People that pick up the phone and say, hello Chris, how you doing? You know, I'm just got 5 minutes for a call to see how you are. And so that's I think an important thing in life. Spend time with the people that love you and give back. Don't take it for granted. I think I like lifelong education. Not because it's a cliche, but just because I can't understand. Well, I can understand, but to me, why would I watch a soap opera, which is like fictitious opiate for the masses, isn't it? Really, it's fictitious garbage, just to appease people when they come home from their hard day at work, working for a knobhead boss. Have your tea, put on a soap opera, and I think what a shame we can't embrace all the wonderful people that have been before us in history, or that are still around. You know, the brilliant thinkers, the adventurers, you know, the humanists. There's so many fascinating people to learn about, and with YouTube, it's just got to put YouTube on the telly and it's all there for you. You know, it's not, so that I'd say, yeah.
Chris, yeah. Sorry, mate, we're going to have to wrap up because it's
no worries.
We've gone well over time. I really appreciate your time, mate. I know you're very busy. Thank you for your wonderful insights.
Yeah.
An incredible journey. And we wish you all the best from Happy Days and very happy journeys with you on your incredible, you know, onward journey with this the runs you're doing. So I want to thank you on behalf of Happy Days. Good luck with you.
Thank you, mate.
Great to see you, and we'll keep in touch.
Yeah.
And let us know how you get on.
Yeah, I'll come and see you next time I'm in the smoke. You are in the smoke, aren't you?
Yes, mate.
Yeah. All right, lots of love to you, Brandon. Thank you, mate.
God bless you, mate.
Yeah, thank you, everyone, for listening.
Good on you.
I'm going to get back on the bike now.
Go on, son.
Yeah, got another 20 miles to do tonight, so done 100 today already.
Wow. Well done, mate.
Thank you. Cheers. Right, I'm going to turn this off, Paul.